Yeah, morning all. I just told Tim that we have an electrifying start, not on the front but at the back. So I think so that we had a wonderful day, and thankfully I have a copy of my presentation. And by God's grace, I don't have to stare at the slides, neither you guys, so I'll hog the limelight for another 10-15 minutes. So basically my presentation was more on the discussion front, because I changed my presentation in the end because many of the speakers subsequently will be speaking on various facets of Hatch-Waxman Act. So I had modified my presentation, though for the good, to give you a strategic perspective of what IP can do to the business of a company. So I strongly have believed, and this has been dwelled into me in the last years, that IP always should be a profit center, not a cost center. We should not be seen as a white elephant by the management and the CFOs of the company. So how do we do that? So to that extent, what we have to do is to have an IP strategy in place. I don't have my slides, so I will read it out and then I'll explain it to you. So why do we need an IP strategy in place? It is to keep up to date with dynamic and rapidly changing pharmaceutical field. So when I say the field is dynamic, that means it is evolving. What we know as of now today might change tomorrow. As we all are from the science background, we know the half-life. The half-life in pharma is much more than in any other field of technology, be it semiconductors or be it softwares. Because once you get a drug in the market, it stays there for years to come, unless and until there has been a withdrawal based on safety and efficacy. So presumably, I'm saying that we have a safe and efficacious drug in the market, which turns out to be a blockbuster, yielding billions of dollars to the brand. So there has to be an IP strategy in place. During my early years in one of the premier Indian pharmaceutical company, we were working on a generic version of a proton pump inhibitor, and the brand in that case, of course, was AstraZeneca. It had done a beautiful patent fencing of the entire molecule, and I was looking at that time, around 15 years back, 23 Orange Book listed patents. Now, it really gives you jitters down your spine that what you're going to do with the IP around that. Of course, some of the patents are relevant, some are not. That is secondary consideration. But what they did at the end of the day was a very good IP strategy, which really took half the people off the hook. So you should need to have an IP strategy in place. It sounds good for brands, and it sounds good for generics also nowadays. Because you are maybe working on a different polymorphic form of a drug. You may be having a specific impurity profile. You might be having a specific intermediate which we don't want anybody else to work on. Maybe the NCE, maybe the product is protected by somebody else, but you have a key starting material which you don't want anybody else to work through. And that might be an alternate route of synthesis or a non-infringing route of synthesis to the existing patent, maybe. So how to protect that? You can't keep it as a trade secret. Can you do that? Of course not. Because if somebody, it's like a genie getting out of the bottle. So once the trade secret gets out, you are nowhere. So it's good to have an IP into place. It's really good to have the, so I have a presentation. So now I have to see and talk, so I cannot talk much, sorry. Half of the things I was saying was not even there. Just you saw? Okay. So the IP strategy is to, of course, to maintain your competitive edge, to take advantage of the legal trends, like I said. The classic term which we all know, I won't get into that, the patent and the product lifecycle management should go hand in hand. It should be like a happy marriage. Next, the IP strategy should be a part of the overall business strategy. What should be the positioning of your product in the market? That the IP guy should ask the business first, rather than business asking IP that this is what you should do. I firmly believe, and this is what I do in my present concern and my previous concerns also, IP-led business-driven strategy. This is how it should be. You get a product in the market, you get infringed. You get a product in the market, you get injuncted. So what's the fun of doing all the R&D, spending a lot of money in business promotion, advertisements, and of course, at the end of the day, I'm not talking about FDA recall, but you have to also recall a product from the market in case you have been injuncted in a court of law, maybe in India, maybe in the US. So doing a due diligence prior to getting a product grid in place is far better than getting a business list from the business team and then getting a product and then getting injuncted. You know, the means should be justifiable. The means should justify the ends. IP should not be the end. This is what I mean. IP should be the beginning. So this is what the whole perspective is all about. There should be a paradigm shift in the kind of thinking what we are doing. I hope you concur with me. Business should not dictate terms. IP should dictate us because you are the guys who know what is going to be the real hindrance in the market tomorrow when you are going to penetrate deep into the market, when the entire management has spent all the money and then you're going to tell them one good day, sir, I have a bad news, and no one going to hear that. The classic question which comes from the management is, were you sleeping? So if you are not sleeping, then you should have led the business rather than by sitting at the back end of the table. This is what is expected from IP in the present scenario. So like you can see on the slide is a classic business flow where IP can be chipped in from various stages of development. It could be right from invention to financing to product design, commercialization, marketing, exporting. So in every facet, when I'm talking about IP, please don't consider I'm talking about patents as such. It could be a trademark, it could be a copyrights in trademark, it could be a trade dress, which is more critical for pharmaceutical industries. The shape, size, and color of the tablet may also be a hindrance to you. I'm not getting into case specifics because my subsequent panel will take care of that. So I'm just giving you a perspective at about 30,000 feet. I want you guys to think what we are doing, right? Not when what you have done and then you think over it. So this is the whole premise of my presentation is. So what a patent strategy is, to keep it quite simple, is like it's a skeleton of a decision-making processes and procedures which must ensure that patent activities support all business. Like I said, IP should be a profit center, and we can do that. We can protect IP through business segments, through platform technology. When I talk about platform technology, it is more pertinent to pharma also. When you talk about platform technology, it could be a polymeric drug delivery systems, injectable device, depot, inhalation, any damn thing, or it could be specific individual technology, very niche. It could be a drug plus an inhalation system, which could be very niche for the delivery of that particular drug, a meter dose, and so things henceforth. So in developing a patent strategy, now it gets very generic. What I'm going to tell is, now, we all know that patent is an exclusionary right, that it is a license to market, sell, and to exploit, of course. An additional thing, it gives you, of course, a sense of achievement, belongingness. It gives you USP to the business. Nowadays, patents are used more as a business tool. You always see patent pending, patent granted. The patent marking is also to be done with great deal of caution. Again, I'm not going to get into all that stuff. But yes, IP gives you a sense of fulfillment. Now, the patent strategy, it could differ because, like I said, the moment you conceive an idea, the buck starts rolling. You know, it's like a meter down. So you must know what should be the end of that particular value chain. So if it's a small generic company, the portfolio will be different, the strategy would be different. If it's a mid-segment generic company or a brand company, the segment and the vision will be different. If it's a multinational company, the segment and the bandwidth will be different. When I talk about bandwidth, it will be the approach, the market penetrability, the vision, the incubation period, and the investment. Small companies may seek investment turnaround from 2 to 5 years, mid-term 5 to 10 years, and the brands and big companies may see the horizon of the investment. We call it as ROI, return on investment, down the line to 10 to 15 years plus. Means they can keep that money safely somewhere, park it, and they can sit aside and do R&D and the litigation work, do their work. They won't ask you every now and then that what's my ROI on the billions of dollars investment what I have made so far. So what I say about offensive patent strategy, basically we maintain a small portfolio of patents. It's just like a surgical strike team. We get a market leadership advantage. We get licensing chances are bright. Many small companies are taken over by big companies. It's not a hostile takeover. It is because of the technologies what they have are taken over by the big companies. Warner Abbott was taken over by Pfizer. Was a technological advantage which Pfizer got with the classical drug atorvastatin. Again, like small and medium companies have this offensive patent strategy because the less of cost gives you more of leverage in the market, right? Now coming back to next is defensive patent strategy. Defensive is I can keep my tanks on the border, I can sit at my home, but I can do only then when I have got a lot of money. I can feed my troops. That means I can feed my lawyers. I can feed my patents, the maintenance fees. It can be only done with a company with a deep pockets, mid-segment. It cannot be MSME. It could be mid-segment to a large company, a corporation. So large portfolio of patents have various scopes. It protects the products from copying, keeps the generics from bay, reduces the chances of infringement, cross-licensing, licensing, exclusive licensing, non-exclusive licensing can be the name of the game. Like I said, it's always high cost to follow this particular strategy. It depends. Of course, we all know that once you want to go into international business, we should be doing convention filing, PCT filing. I'm not going to dwell onto that. You all, I assume, are masters of that art. Thanks a lot. You can reach me. And if anything is there, of course, we can catch around in Q&As and during the lunch.